You are so close to your breakthrough, right? Yes, thank you, Jesus. Wow, our deliverer, our victor, he is fighting our battles, right? He is fighting them, and he always reigns victorious. Sometimes I just want to glimpse into his battle plan to understand a little better what he's doing, but he's doing it. He's going to accomplish it. Wow, because you think about how many times throughout history, biblical history, that God did things in unexpected ways. Look at his physical battle plans for the nation of Israel. He had them do some really strange things, but every time they just obediently did that strange thing, they won the battle. They won the victory. They drove out nations before them for one reason only. The Lord was fighting their battles. The Lord was going ahead of them. All they were doing was just obeying what he called them to do. So we've got it easy, right? The battle's not yours, it's the Lord's. Just do what he's calling you to do. The victory's on its way, right? Because it reminds us of God's faithfulness and his miraculous power. That even when the nation of Israel was literally between a rock and a hard place and a sea and the enemy, and by all worldly standards, they were dead. God had delivered them from Egypt just to kill them in the desert. God's like, why are you even reaching out to me? Just move on. Just be still and move on. I love that paradox. He told Moses to be still and to move on. And he parted the Red Sea. The same tool that he used to deliver his people was the same tool that brought destruction to the enemy. So when you see hundreds and thousands falling at your side, what has taken them out won't touch you. We don't need to be afraid. We just need to keep trusting the Lord. I love that blinders. Yeah, keep your eyes on him, right? That's where the victory is. And so, this morning we're looking at another very unexpected way in which God works. This unexpected way, you probably saw a sneak peek because I can't keep my fingers off the clicker. It's a question that has really tripped a lot of people up in their faith through the years. That's all the enemy has to do, right? Look in the Garden of Eden. Did the enemy tell Eve and Adam to eat from that tree? Not really. He was just like, did God really say that? Did he really say that? All he has to do is ask a question. Our flesh does the rest, right? Our flesh does the rest. He's got an easy job. But this question, not only has it tripped people up in their faith, it has caused many people to not even begin their faith journey. It's caused a lot of people just to turn away from Christ altogether, to want nothing to do with our great God. And it is the question of essentially, how can a good God allow bad things to happen, right? I think it's phrased this way. Why do bad things happen to good people? Anybody here just evil and wicked? Anybody want to admit? Yeah, I've been there. We try to be good people, right? Right? We try to be good people. And does bad things ever happen to you? Ever? Anybody? Yeah, pretty much everybody here. Bad things happen to us. In fact, this morning's message is going to be entitled Wicked Good. Wicked Good. It's a paradox that we're going to understand a little better this morning. Now, this morning we're going to be primarily focusing on the bad things that happen at the hand of people. Because after all, much of what we consider to be the world's greatest sufferings, they are the direct result of people's choices. But ultimately, we know that all bad things happen, whether it's directly a person's choice or not, because of the choice of those two first people, right? Adam and Eve. The reason that suffering and evil and wickedness and all these things happen, it's just all a result of sin. We live in a broken, fallen world. It is not the way it is supposed to be. That's why Jesus had to teach us to pray. His kingdom come, his will be done here on the earth. If we have to pray that God's will would be done here on the earth, does that mean it's just going to automatically happen? Jesus would have never taught us to pray something if it just naturally automatically happened, right? Even the bad things that happen are a result of sin, ultimately. But when you think about some of these things, you look at the worldwide issues that plague us, hunger, poverty, disease, and sickness. A lot of people don't even have access to fresh water. I still remember Chantel's project, about just bringing that to light here at New Hope. Even basic shelter and safety. So many other global injustices. They are often the direct result of people's choices. Not that they choose to be in poverty, but that people choose to give them no way out of poverty. And despite the ever-increasing population on this earth, I firmly believe that God created this planet in such a way that it possesses all the resources that we need if we steward them well, if we manage them well, right? I know a lot of people are upset about, the amazing natural resources that we have here in this nation, that we're not plugging into and whatnot. You just think about simple things like that. Often the overseeing governments that are in place, we talked all about this last week, the ones that are supposed to be sort of providing like the infrastructure and the ways for people to have for their citizens to have access to those basic human needs. A lot of times, instead of them providing those ways and those opportunities, they are actually the ones intentionally preventing those things from happening. They are oppressing their own people. A lot of government structures operate in this way. They prevent access to those basic intentional oppression is often what results in this human suffering. That's why we're so blessed to live in this nation that we do. That overall, generally speaking, that there are ways for us to end those cycles that maybe even we were born into, those cycles of poverty. But without a doubt, this is one of the very unexpected ways that God works. God created everything on this earth, and He said it was good. He gave us everything that we need, and then He entrusted us to steward it. He entrusted us to manage it. The Bible records a few times when He regretted handing this stewardship off. Genesis 6, you may have heard about it, right? The rainbow. You remember what the original, why we have a rainbow to begin with? It's a sign to remind us of God's promises. He will never flood the earth again. He will never take out all mankind in a worldwide flood. He regretted making mankind, and He did that at one point. We talked last week about Saul. Guess who regretted making Saul king? God. We serve a God who regrets. And that just messes with my theological training. A God who is in all power, all authority, who reigns sovereign over all. A God who knows well beforehand what's going to happen, and yet He regrets it when He makes a choice. I mean, it's sort of like, parents can understand this paradox. Do you ever know that your kid is just going to screw something up? And you warn them about it, and you're like, okay, you're going to be going to this party, this is going to be presented to you, here's what you need to choose, and you kind of trust them anyway, and you let them do it, and then you get that phone call, and what you warned them was going to happen if they made a bad choice. They made the bad choice, and it happened, and now they need you to go bail them out, right? You regretted it, but you gave them that option. You gave them that choice, right? It's no different with God. And I highly, highly doubt that those were the only two instances when God regretted maybe, putting us in charge of things, right? Sorry, you're going to take these, or they're going to be fidget spinners for me all day long. Anyways, this thought crossed my mind. On Monday, it was the holiday weekend, and it's always very low attended, so they put out discount tickets to Kennywood this past weekend. So on Monday, Megan's birthday, we were all off, and we decided to go, And this thought crossed my mind. I mean, here I am standing in front of this huge steel structure with hydraulics that just are amazing. And you think about all of the things that could be done with that hunk of steel and the hydraulic technology in front of you. And you know what we choose to use it for? To spin people in circles for hours every day. Why? What are we thinking? For our entertainment. I'm horrified. I don't want to do it. I want to do it again. Like, what are we thinking? Do you understand what could be done with some of those things? Oh my goodness. It's like the meme that's floating around social media about milk, right? This angel goes up and talks to Jesus and kind of informs him of some things that we're doing. We are making milk out of almonds and soy. And God's like, didn't I give them like 7 or 8 animals to provide milk, and we choose, I don't have a job of being an almond milker. I don't know how that works. I don't even want to go there, anyways. God entrusted us with His creation, and sometimes you got to really laugh at ourselves at how we steward it and what we choose to do with it, right? Now, it's funny in some instances, but I'm telling you, Abel did not think it was so funny. He was one of the first people to understand just how misused God's creation can be, right? He actually was murdered by God's creation. And it wasn't a gun problem, it was a heart problem, right? Sin always finds a way. You can take away every weapon that you want. Trust me, when I worked at Diamond Pharmacy, I visited a lot of different prisons around the nation. It's amazing the things that people can form into a weapon, okay? People are very creative when they got nothing but time on their hands. You can't stop all weapons. What needs to change is in here, right? My heart and that heart condition. God stepped in. Here's this paradox that we see very clearly in the scriptures, very early in creation. God stepped in and tried to stop it, but ultimately, here's the key in all of this, God will not override our free will. It was a gift that He gave us, and He won't take it away. Neither Cain's nor Abel's. Did you ever wonder, what if Abel was like, I see that look in your eye, Cain, I ain't never seen it before, and I don't want to go out in that field with you, right? They both had free will, and they both chose to use it. Genesis chapter 4, verses 6 through 8. Then the Lord said to Cain, why are you angry? Why is your face so downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, now we consider that to be sin, right? God didn't define sin as not doing what's right here. I'm still trying to figure this one out theologically. He said, but if you do what is not right, sin is crouching at your door, and it desires to have you, but you must rule over it. He gave him an option here. He gave him an ultimatum. He warned him. He knew what was floating around through Cain's mind. Now Cain said to his brother Abel, let's go out in the field. While they're out in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. And I always thought that he used a rock, but the Bible doesn't say that. We have no idea how he killed him. He might have strangled him to death. I don't know. In any case, he killed him. God's creation was used to kill God's creation. Talk about use of resources and stewardship, right? But why did God allow bad things to happen to a righteous person at the hand of an unrighteous one?